They convinced the House and Senate to write in an exemption for the online retailers from having to collect sales tax. I remember sitting in the very den that I'm close to right now, looking out the window and saying, this was a bad thing.
When Jeff Bezos showed up at the inauguration this year, we have felt more comfortable talking about it. Another one of my favorite things is when people make friends in our store because they happen to be shopping in the same genre.
Which, of course, you don't get from an algorithm.
Hello, Vermont. I'm Andy Julo.
And I'm Joanna Grossman.
And this is There's No A in Creamy.
Vermont politics, culture, and beyond.
Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to There's No A in Creamy, episode 10.
There it is.
Double digits. Oh my God. I feel like we should have had fireworks or like something exploding.
I mean, we can add in any effect that we want. What would you like?
I don't know. I just used all my material on that particular topic. Like noisemakers or like just confetti. That's not audio, but I'm just saying. I'm just painting a picture for the listeners.
We are starting off strong. Love it.
Yeah, okay. Exciting interview this week.
Yeah, we've got the DeSantos from Phoenix Books, and actually have a number of different names for their businesses, right?
Yeah, so I work for Phoenix Books, and I'm the community relations director there. And yes, so we had a little collab with Phoenix this week, which we're really excited about. And we had the OG owner, Mike DeSanto, who is still there, and he came on the show with his daughter, Katie, who's the general manager for all three stores. And the umbrella organization is Maple Tree Books, and they also have a few other ventures and like book related enterprises that they support. It's a pretty cool, I love working there because it's an independent bookstore, but they're just doing so much cool, innovative and community driven stuff. It's the vibe, man. It is really good.
And you've got a hearing coming up on Thursday. We're going to release this on Tuesday.
Right.
And then Thursday night will be the next hearing.
On the 17th, yeah. Like any independent bookstore, they've been having like a long journey with Amazon, and they talked to us all about that in the interview. But they called me on a Sunday night because they found out there was like a leak from a small subcommittee in the town of Essex about something called Project Moose, which was a code name for this Amazon application that was going in to build a 107,000 square foot warehouse in Essex. It has a 70-mile delivery radius.
I love how we name things after the habitat that we destroyed.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's so real. And they were like, we need someone who can run a campaign. And I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. So that worked out nicely. So I've been helping them with that. And it's wild because it's up to the Town of Essex Development Review Board. And so for anyone who's interacted with DRBs, it's generally a small committee of volunteers who maybe don't have a ton of experience with the oligarchy. And
I chaired mine for 5 years.
And you never had Walmart moving in. That's not even a good example, really.
I mean, it's a lot of subdivisions and boundary line adjustments, and I would imagine that's probably what they do there. But then something big can just come sliding right down, and you may not have the experience with it.
Yeah, and this DRB was actually just set up in January. Like, truly, they do have my sympathies because they're just no one really could be adequately prepared for this in their role.
Right.
So we've had 4 continuances now at the DRB. A lot of people have been showing up. And I won't give you like the play-by-play, but I will say in the last one, a lot of people showed up, a lot of concerns about traffic. The town of Essex roads are really not equipped for 27 deliveries from, tractor trailers for an Amazon warehouse. And so the DRB used a tool that they have in their toolbox, and they went into a 2-hour deliberative session. And it was wild when they decided to do it. Like the reporters started yelling because they felt like it was a transparency issue. And
I don't get that. That's, as I understand, that's a pretty standard
But it's
mechanism.
only DRBs that can do that.
Yeah.
And I think, like, how often are they really covering a DRB hearing? You know, they might just not know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know either.
Well, and they debated it. I saw some clips of they were debating whether to go into deliberative session.
Yeah.
And that struck me as strange because every hearing ends in a deliberative session by our DRB, which is modeled after Colchester's DRB. Yeah, that's just automatic. You close the hearing and then you go into deliberative session and everybody's out.
Yeah. Well, so they went in and did that. And then they came back and, like, you know, we're all like sitting there while they're in there. Like, Phoenix brought like pizza and seltzer for everyone. And we're all like chatting, getting to know each other. It was kind of funny. And then they come back in and, I mean, respect for the DRB. They were like, we did not get a real traffic study. We really need to understand. So they told Amazon they need to give them 3 similar sites so that the traffic of existing similar sites can be studied. And Amazon was not so happy about that. And they really pushed back, and the DRB stuck to their guns. And I can imagine they would, because after a 2-hour deliberative session, I'm sure they were not eager to like go back. And they were like, they ordered them to do that. And we're going to have the next meeting. The DRB is going to have the next meeting we're going to be attending on the 17th. And we're going to see the next chapter 5.
Very nice. You've been getting a lot of press coverage.
Yeah.
It was a couple weeks ago. You were on every channel again, and there was a couple of you just kind of holding signs, or you were in the room, and then you had an interview on NBC5.
Yeah, that's right.
And you were I watched it, and you know, like the attention span is 6 seconds. Like they like to flip around, and on like major news networks, you get multiple angles. But here, you got one person with a camera, and so most quotes are only 6 seconds long, and you've mastered the art of packing more than 6 seconds worth of content into 6 seconds.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I feel like that's high praise.
It is high praise.
Thank you.
Yeah, right out of left field. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, it's so funny because after all these like campaigns and like political consulting and like comms work that I've done over these years, I have supported so many people at that mic. I've written so many talking points, so many speeches, like all that stuff. And I really have not had a lot of experience at being the one at the mic.
Not at all, yeah.
Really not at all.
No, you were always hovering like over the right shoulder of
and
whoever
you know
was,
as well as anyone, yeah. And it's just... it's been really fun to do that. Like the first hearing that I knew I was probably going to give interviews, I was recording voice memos of myself the whole way to like kind of practice. And then after a while, I was like, I'm just going to talk to them. And I got the hang of it. And
I thought you've been smooth right from the beginning.
Thanks.
But then there's that next level where you artfully pack it in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. I did also learn like a little trick that, you know, I know they're going to cut it down to like 2-3 lines of like many minutes interview. So now I have like one of our staff also record it so I can use the full interview however I want on our platforms.
Well, I mean, you're up against people who are paid by Jeff Bezos.
I know.
Probably a lot of money with a lot of resources, and you're doing great against these folks.
Thanks. Yeah, it's wild. Like I'm really up against one of the biggest companies in the world, and they're super high tech. And I definitely wonder what kind of surveillance I may or may not be under. I'm trying not to overthink it. But
you can imagine all the resources of Amazon, and they have to come in and they have to submit to these citizen DRBs.
I know.
You know, who are just people with day jobs and volunteers doing the best that they can to run their local government.
Yeah, I really do. I really do empathize with the DRB. Like these are volunteers who are showing up to help their town, you know, and like they don't know, you know, they're doing their best.
Right.
Even the ones I don't agree with, like at all, they're doing their best for their communities. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, and then Amazon. It's funny. One of the reps has this like lightning bolt shaved into his head. And I'm like, right on. But that's like, it's a different vibe. They're bringing in a different vibe. And I definitely think they, in a weird way, did not know what they were in for with Vermont. Yeah. Our smallness is kind of working for us.
Yeah, I could see that. Have you thought about maybe shaving a design into your head?
I don't know. What do you recommend?
What would it be?
Yeah. Okay.
I like the whale that you've got on your laptop.
My whale is I love sour beers, And well, it's not. I think it's not technically a sour actually, but Burlington Beer Company, right down the street from me, makes a beer called Strawberry Whale Cake. It's seasonal, and I love it. And
that's seasonal?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
I know.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
And one day I just loved the whale on their label, and I peeled off the label and I cut out the whale and I put it on my laptop, and that's what it's from. Yeah. So little beer crafting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I took you off topic there. Sorry.
No, you can pull me off topic. Anything about whales, sour beers is in play.
Well, and we were at the food trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you tried to order one, and they didn't have one at that stand.
I got one the next Friday though. I don't know about shaving like a strawberry or a whale into my hair. I have a lot of hair on my head, and it would be I did used to have a really short cut with like a side cut on the whole side, like not that long ago.
That would have worked. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have worked. Yep. Fun times. So that was a great interview, and I'm excited for everyone to hear it. Hello and welcome to There's No A in Creamy, Mike DeSanto and Katie DeSanto.
Hi, Joanna.
Hello, Joanna and Andy. How are you guys today?
Doing great.
We're good. We're super excited to talk to you about Phoenix Books and Amazon. So as listeners know, I work at Phoenix with you guys. I'm a relatively new hire, and you guys are an amazing independent bookstore in Burlington and Essex and Rutland. And you are, and one of the fun things for me about working at Phoenix is that it's a family business. Mike, you're the owner. Katie, you're part of the ownership team. And you brought me in a few months ago to help resist Amazon, who is very rapidly encroaching into our market and into our community. And I'm wondering if you can share with us a little about, what that's been like, not just, since I started, but over the long term, like what that's been like to go up against Amazon as an independent bookstore.
So yes, this is a family-owned business. I own part of it. My wife, Renee Reiner, owns part of it, and Katie DeSanto, my daughter, owns part of it. And so that makes us a pretty locally owned business in my mind. And the company, which owns Phoenix Books, so we're a conglomerate. The company that owns Phoenix Books is called Maple Tree Books, and that owns the bookstore in Woodstock called the Yankee Bookshop.
Right.
And it also owns Onion River Press, which is our little mini publishing arm headquartered in the Burlington store.
And I share an office with them.
And you share an office with them.
Yeah.
So, Katie, you've been the general manager since when, and for how many years before that did you work?
I joined Phoenix Books originally in October of 2008.
Oh, wow.
When we were still in across the way in the Essex outlets, if anybody remembers the Essex outlets.
Oh yeah, I do.
Which has changed a lot. They've gone back to what we wanted them to be originally, which was local shops over in the outlets. So we are across the way. In 2017, we moved here. But yes, I started in 2008, and I've been GM since 2023, and it has been a fantastic, wild ride.
So can you tell us a little about what's it like to be an independent bookstore up against the oligarchy, and how has that, escalated over the years?
We are not fighting the oligarchy.
Right.
I think we are, but okay.
I'd be interested in each of your perspectives on that.
So I tell the story boringly, perhaps, of we came up here in November of 1995 when Katie was much younger, and we bought the Book Rack and Children's Pages, which was an awesome little bookstore in Winooski. And I was sitting in front of my first computer, and I was listening to the TV news. And as I was working on bookstore stuff, I heard on the news, this was right after Al Gore invented the internet. Whoever they is, convinced the House and Senate to write in an exemption for the online retailers from having to collect sales tax. I remember sitting in the very den that I'm close to right now, looking out the window and saying, actually, in those days, there wasn't a window there yet, so I was staring at the wall, saying that this was a bad thing. And I said that in February or so of 1996. And, you know, I'm one of these Cassandras where I've been warning about stuff for years, and nobody ever listens to me, and it comes to pass. And then they say, oh, how did we ever get here? So, yes, when I heard that, I said this was a bad thing. It was an Amazon exemption. Nobody else was doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
Then. And he had I'm going to be in trouble. He had the legislature in his back pocket at that point already. How you do that, I'm not one to say, but they did. They passed that exemption. And they said it won't make any difference, and we're trying to nurture a new business model and a new way of making money and a new way of making jobs. So after Amazon got going and they made all these new jobs, and we lost about 1,000 bookstores and all the jobs that they represent, and I'm still fighting to hand my business on to my daughter so that there is a legacy and a heritage here. Okay, that's my soapbox. I just got off of it. I'll turn it over to Katie.
We enjoyed it.
I've been a retailer since I was 15. I've always worked in shops and with customers, but not always with bookstores. So I moved up here in 2008, and I didn't understand what local meant until I started working for Dad. And I understood what it meant for keeping taxes in this idea of a closed loop economy, keeping taxes local, especially given how our roads are, how the importance of what taxes are to pay for our roads and how we use them and all this wonderful recreation that we have in our state parks. I just had no idea until I worked with, I call him Mike at work, but he's Dad, until Mike started to talk about what it all really does mean. And it's remarkable that when you come from away and into Vermont and understand how we are all really truly connected economically, business to business, person to person, and what it all means. The more you know, the less you know. The more you learn, the less you know. So for us, we've been quietly fighting Amazon 4 years. So in 2007 or 2008, when I started, I learned about Amazon, what it meant, and I read the articles. I got the language in my head and started to see what the effect really was. Phoenix Books has been fighting Amazon quietly since we opened in 2007, when Mike and Renee opened the store in 2007. And we had to keep it quiet because our customers are precious to us.
Right.
And our customers, because the retail landscape has been decimated by online shopping, particularly through Amazon, we watch stores come and go. So the retail landscape has been really flattened, so that really we're here, and several stores in Essex are still here. However, there isn't a lot of shopping. So you realize, our customers shop on Amazon sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that has to be okay because the retail landscape is so flattened. Our customers shop on Amazon. So for us, for many, many years, we really didn't say it too loudly, what we knew, because we knew what Amazon did. They devalued the book. They devalued delivery. They hid the costs of fast online delivery. They hid them from the public, so that the public, that feeling of clicking and having a box end up at your door, is so enticing. It's game theory. And the more you learn that we're living in the matrix, it's like, as a Phoenix Books employee, I don't want to yank somebody out of the matrix and have them see all the bad things. So it's been a delicate relationship.
Yeah.
So we gently, quietly say, we have a book club that we offer that you pay for to get a discount on books and to compete. That's our way of competing directly with Amazon. And only since when Amazon decided to encroach on our territory here in Vermont, And when Jeff Bezos showed up at the inauguration this year, and when folks started realizing that space travel was only for the wealthy, and we have felt more comfortable talking about it and coming out of this sort of quiet discomfort that we've had regarding Amazon and our customers. Mike and I did talk about this when we found out about Amazon coming to Essex. We realized we can't keep quiet any longer. We've got to be honest and transparent about what this really is and do our best to educate, because it really is an education campaign, to educate folks on what it is, as hard as it is to face.
Yeah.
We feel strongly to keep people aware and reminded that it's not, although that smile makes it look so easy, but there's really a lot that goes on behind the scenes, behind that smile. It's not good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, actually, I want to circle back for a second. So I might have skipped a couple lines. So for listeners who aren't aware, Amazon is trying to build a 107,000 square foot warehouse in Essex. And it is right on top of the Phoenix Books original location in Essex. And that's kind of what we're up against here. And I love, Katie, how you talked about how we can talk about it now, to take my podcaster hat off for a second, put my Phoenix hat on for a second. I think, something we talk about internally a lot is that the fact that Amazon and that cohort of companies is so tight with the Trump administration, I think has helped people see what they are a little bit more and made it easier for us to talk about, actually, and help people see, what's going on here.
What have you seen, maybe in particular you, Mike, all these years of owning a business, all the great things that have come from small business and your small business, the small business community, that we might lose with these large retailers pushing out the little guys?
Well, I think it's important to remember that there was a time when virtually everything in Vermont was small, and that Vermont was somehow remarkably self-sufficient and self-sustaining. And it did not need somehow a Walmart and a Dick's Sporting Goods and a 40,000 square foot Barnes & Noble bookstore to be the special community that it was, and that to a large extent it still is. Small business people are what you would call sort of generically entrepreneurs, Andy. I suspect that really describes you as well. And being that, you go where somebody else isn't. That's what small businesses have always done in terms of inventing and reinventing themselves as small businesses. But in truth, being a small business person is being expressive, self-expressive, creative, and also almost artistic in what we do. And that is the beautiful part. So I will say this. If we lose more and more small businesses, and this has been an ongoing effect of globalization, then many entrepreneur spirits will find some other way to do it. If it's taking people out on horseback riding with Icelandic ponies or something, they will find a way to express themselves. But it will be different, and it could be painful. When Barnes & Noble and Borders began their encroachments with big box bookstores back in the 80s, it cost a lot of small bookstores, and virtually all bookstores are small in comparison to a 45,000 square foot Barnes & Noble. It took a lot of those bookstores off the map. And I remember when we owned a bookstore in Winooski, I had a good friend named Joe Paskovich, who owned the Winooski hardware store. Well, how many family-owned, one-person operation hardware stores do you find anymore? We now have Open and Ace, and we just discovered that Obashan acquired the Ace franchises in our area. So you can be a small store and not be a small business. And I'll suspect that the people that own both of those companies rather look at themselves as small in comparison to Home Depot. So again, it's all relative.
Mike, I love that you flagged that that there's so much creativity in it, because I don't have a ton of experience in the private sector, like some, but most of my career, as you guys know, has been either in government or, basically with the party in one way or another. And I've been totally taken by the fact that Phoenix has to be, creative and innovative and agile, or you won't be anymore. And every business is faced with that. And that to me is I don't know, there's like there is a real beauty in it. It's like you said, and it's really compelling and honestly a little exciting and all those things. It's just really fun for me. Katie, I was wondering if you could riff a little off that same question that Andy asked, but I want to tack a piece onto it. We were practicing for a reel at one point in the store, and the prompt was that I was asking you if you could share with me a little about how an independent bookstore actually solves people's problems. Like, what are some examples, not to put you on the spot too much, but like, how often does someone come into the store with like a real problem that's facing them and they're hoping to find an answer in the store?
So, for example, we hear on a daily basis, mom will come in and they're getting ready to go on a long car ride. How are we going to help mom keep kiddo entertained? And this really does happen. I just lost somebody special to me. I need some books on grief. I need tarot cards. I want to have some self-reflection. What am I going to do this winter? I'm bored to tears. We've got art supplies and how to draw. Anything that is part of life is in a bookstore. Anything, just like a library. It's the same value as libraries. And libraries, of course, are the great democratizer of knowledge. A woman came in, we were just talking about the Amazon issue, actually. It's one of the people that we're working with on Amazon. She's a lifelong truck driver. Oh. And she just happened to look over and see a pair of snarky socks that she was like, I needed to get my neighbor a gift. And he is snarky to me, so I think this is perfect. So even a pair of socks can fulfill a need that she never even realized. But yeah, we have that so I had open discourse about politics and social justice, and I sold her a pair of snarky socks all in 20 minutes.
Are those the Blue Q socks?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I love that you knew the pair, Mike. That's like amazing.
The swear words, yes. But it's so satisfying. So we're talking about lofty issues, and yet and people are around us, and sometimes we invite people. Another one of my favorite things is when people make friends in our store because they happen to be shopping in the same genre, whether it's the sci-fi fantasy section or the romance section. You get two people. If I'm talking about a book that I think they should get, somebody will say, "Oh my God, I read that. Yes, you need to read this." And then so the whole store gets involved, and it's pure joy. It really is pure joy. And that is the sense of community in our store, in our little capitalist store, that provides all of our booksellers, Mike, me, all the booksellers that work for us, such joy, and why we love coming to work every day in a bricks and mortar shop.
Yeah.
Which of course, preaching to the choir at this point, you don't get from an algorithm.
Right. Exactly.
Your website has a great breakdown on the dollars spent locally versus with an out-of-state retailer. And I would definitely encourage folks to check that out. But could you give us a little high-level overview? What is the effect of a dollar spent locally versus a dollar spent with a large retailer?
It starts with, where does, for example, the person live who's doing the work? So if you order online, that worker who's going to fulfill your order works in Ohio. And that means his Social Security taxes, his sales taxes, his salary, his state and federal income tax are all paid through Ohio. And so there's where a big chunk of the loss comes from right there. They therefore don't live in Vermont. They live in Ohio. So the real estate taxes, which we use to fund so much of our state, are not being collected in state. Can I knock the Republicans a little bit?
Sure.
The Republicans who incessantly talk about the job flow out of the state, and then ignore the fact that a company like Amazon is sucking jobs out of the state because most of the work done by Amazon is done somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
They ignore the fact that they aren't doing anything to encourage that work to be done in state. And so you can't just keep cutting a tax and induce people to move into a place. You have to find an environment where the jobs can stay. And so encouraging online sales to that extent is bad for any state. And there should be some thought about that. It has to do with where the work is done to provide whatever it is you're providing. And that has a whole ripple effect on selling houses, building houses, apartments, condos, whatever you want, collecting sales taxes, income taxes, local use tax, all of that sort of thing. And the fact would be that we all need to probably shrink what we do so that it does become more local.
Well, that was a really good dovetail actually into another question I had, which is, I mean, this is something we kick around at work all the time and haven't really solved, but what can policymakers do, especially at the state level?
I'm no expert on education, but if I understand the bill that just passed the legislature in education, it's intended to, God help me, reduce some of the local control that we're so proud of in Vermont.
That's right.
And I'm not a smart person that way. I don't know for sure, but I got an opinion. But when you look at the town of Essex being willing, through its development review board and planning commission and select board or whoever's making these final decisions, to accept an Amazon warehouse in their little town that potentially has an enormous, more than a ripple effect, a tsunami effect on other communities, I got a problem.
Right.
Why does Essex get to screw me up in Milton or Woodstock or anywhere else that I've got a business in Rutland and in downtown Burlington by making that choice free of state level constraints other than whatever Act 250 may or may not hold over their heads? But that's sort of like whatever happened to taking care of your neighbor. We live in a state where we're so proud of taking care of our neighbor, and yet a town like Williston some years ago could decide, oh, sure, bring that Walmart here. And businesses left.
It is staggering that a tiny, a group of volunteers on a board in a tiny town like Essex, Vermont, gets to make a decision that will have such a massive regional impact. I wonder if there should be controls on that. That is pretty interesting.
We don't live in a local world anymore. So when a local entity can make those kinds of choices, they put a lot of other people at risk. Whether that even comes to pass or not, I don't know. I ain't that smart. But I think it will. It certainly poses as a threat to me. And I just sort of resent why Essex gets to make that choice.
Yeah.
I can't stop somebody from opening a bookstore in Williston, which is right down the road from me. And nor do I really want to. But this isn't about competition. This is about doing things on a large scale that in order to succeed have to have effects and the radius they're using is 70 miles, but that's about most of the state.
Yeah.
That gets all the way over into New Hampshire, for heaven's sake, and up into Plattsburgh and stuff. Okay, you got me going again. Katie, it's your turn.
No, it's all accurate and true and backed up. Yeah, Saranac Lake to Littleton to Rutland Woodstock to Derby Line. And Vermont has is the top state for most bookstores per capita, and this has an effect on more than us. This is bigger than us. It's bigger than books. It is shoe stores, Fleet Feet.
That's
down
a good
the road.
point. It's bigger than us. I like that.
It's much bigger than us. Fleet Feet down the street. Hardware. You are so right on hardware stores. Toy stores, which there is a lovely one in Williston. Anything that you can get on Amazon. Hardware stores in particular, that and toy stores are similar to bookstores. They provide deep knowledge. So if I need a part and I don't know the name of it, but I can describe it, I count on a hardware store employee to just know what I'm talking about because they're experts in their field. And that skill set that only human beings can provide, and that you ask me how my dog or cat is while I'm in the store, and I might donate to the little jar that you have at your front counter. It's bigger than us, and it has a lovely ripple effect, these small local businesses. And yeah, there's a serious threat. So when we break down what it means to shop locally, it's donations to our schools. Of course, it's our taxes, which is the big one, our employment taxes and our taxes that we pay. But it's also nurturing our school kids that shop here. We have, if I may show off a little bit, we have a summer reading program that all you need to do is be under 17 and read 10 books, write them down, and we'll give you $10. We will give you a $10 gift card just because you read 10 books. And it doesn't even have to be from our store. You could, whatever it is. And we interact with those kiddos. We tell them congratulations. And that's how we nurture our community. Or it's a local Vermont author event that comes to sign their books, and that we're having this Saturday, the 12th. Eric will be here signing his books in both Essex and Burlington. He's going to go to both stores, and he writes fantastic thrillers that have a social issues theme. His last book was about a school shooting, so he talked to educators, and that's a real thing to worry about. These are Vermont authors creating these wonderful works. Yeah, we conserve our tax dollars. We've got expertise. We invest back into the community. We do a lot of advertising. We advertise in Essex Reporter. We advertise in the Colchester Sun. We advertise in the Milton Independent. We were doing the Williston Observer for a while. 7 Days. These are all journalism needs us. Journalism needs small business now more than ever.
Yeah.
And Amazon's not. They sent out postcards just a couple weeks ago, and we found out that those postcards were printed and mailed from Seattle.
Yeah.
So they're not even
couldn't even use
locally.
a local printer.
Yeah, they're doing digital ads touting about how great their jobs are. Yet some of our top researchers in the nation who are very well known, Lena Khan, talking about monopolies, talking about the dangers of actually working in these places, and the real serious pressure through automated. I've worked in warehouses actually in my corporate retail. I know what pressure is like. You go wherever your machine tells you. That's what your job is. That's not a humanistic future. It's a dystopian future. Mm-hmm. And I think probably there's got to be a book about it. I'm sure Isaac Asimov probably wrote about it. So yeah, you got me going too.
How many more of these do you got?
Hundreds.
We now only a couple. Are we wearing you down?
No.
Yeah, you're firing us up, if anything.
Is it, you know what, we have some sort of softy closer questions, but is there any stuff that you guys really want to share before we go into those?
I don't know. I've been selling books in Vermont since 1995, and I'm sort of getting into the end of my years. You just can't live forever. So it's really been important for me to build what we have today at Maple Tree Books. Mm-hmm. And it's been delightful to have my wife, Renee, part of this. And it's been delightful to have my daughter, Katie, to be part of it. We have a world. It's not an ideal world. It's not a world that many of us in Vermont voted for in the last election. But we have it, and we have to work with it, and we can't try and burn it down. So I know that there are folks on both ends of the spectrum who think that's the only way to go. And that isn't the way that Maple Tree Books, Phoenix Books is going to go. We're going to do it the right way and take the high road and still try and survive and last. And thank you for having us on too, by the way.
Well, so tell us this. So thank you for that. So last week we had Howard Dean on the show, and he said that everyone in Vermont, I did not put him up to this. He said that everyone in Vermont should read the biographies of Thomas Chittenden and Philip Hoff to better understand Vermont. So are there books that you think are like Vermonter essentials, like every Vermonter should read to like get the Vermont vibe of any genre?
Anything by Howard Frank Mosier, I always felt strongly about. He's just got, I mean, he's a Northeast Kingdom. That's probably, I live up there, so that's probably why I feel strongly about him. But he really did understand a sense of community and the humanity in a group of people that don't always necessarily see the same thing or feel the same way about something, but somehow there's a way that we can all get through this together. Howard Frank Mosier, any of his writing actually was always about community.
That's a good thing to remember. I was so sad when he passed away a few years ago.
Yeah, he was a friend of independent bookstores to the end.
Nice. That's a
good name. He's a good name, but he was an import. You know, he's not from Vermont.
That's right.
So many people who come into the state pick up that not the mantle, a kind of cloak of Vermont.
Oh my gosh, you're almost reading our next question, Mike. It's unbelievable.
But Howard Frank Mosier, and then I would add to that Archer Mayer.
Oh, okay.
He's a police procedural mystery writer, but everything he does is set in Vermont. And so, yes, if you wanted to kind of get a flavor from him, he writes from various towns. He's got some 30-odd novels of a guy named Joe Gunther. And many Vermonters know that series. But, for color about what Vermont is like, that would be a good one.
We had a show where we talked about what it means to be a real Vermonter. And so we'd like to ask you, what does that phrase mean to you? What is a real Vermonter?
Fascinating. Well, it's funny, Vermont is an enigma to me from away. I live in rural Vermont and work in suburban Vermont and visit Burlington or urban Vermont often. So I've got three different perspectives of our interesting state. And somehow we all think of ourselves as Vermonters, no matter where we're from, urban, rural, suburban, and community does seem to be the defining term for our state. Even though we're all, again, much like Howard Frank Mosier, we're all coming at it from different angles. And yet I do feel like everybody really is, most of us are interested in what's best for our state. And the fact that we are number one in the country for the most bookstores per capita also tells you a little something about us too.
Yes. Mike, what does that term real Vermonter mean to you?
Real Vermonters. Well, technically, I once talked to a man, he owned a New England Air, and he told me that a Vermonter also is known as a woodchuck.
Really?
And
yep, that is true.
And everybody else is a Flatlander.
Yep.
And so he said that sometimes in the right community, you could be born in Vermont, but still considered a Flatlander because that's where your parents came from.
Oy.
And so it's like, to be a real Vermonter, you'd actually have to have real roots here going back past your current generation. So I could never be a real Vermonter. And I'm guessing, I don't know, Andy, were you born in Vermont?
I was, but my parents were not.
Yeah. So, but you can masquerade as a real Vermonter because you were born here.
I do when it's to my advantage. Yes.
Yeah.
Real.
But But a real Vermonter, I think, is someone who really cares about their community.
Mm.
And we have more of that per capita, I think, than any other state. And in a previous life, I used to travel and do government relations work in state capitals across the country. And I never found a capital quite like Montpelier.
Mm.
And I haven't been to all 50, but I've probably been to 30 state capitals. And I just, the sense of what you can do in these towns from Burlington or Montpelier or St. Johnsbury, which are places that I did some work with, is just unparalleled. And it's just, I think it's that sense of community that you get in Vermont that I think is what makes real Vermonters, is if you're open to that communal feeling.
So the podcast is called There's No A in Creamy. And so we like to close out by asking everyone, what is your creamy order? When you order a creamy, what kind of creamy do you get?
I get a small maple with maple crunchies.
Nice. So you're pro sprinkles.
Oh my
Yes.
God, what a family thing. I get maple walnut, hard ice cream, maple walnut.
Oh, interesting. Are we going to accept that answer?
Hard ice cream. Yeah. Do you do creamies at all, Mike?
I don't do creamies.
Yeah.
They melt too damn fast when I'm driving down the road.
Oh my God. I feel so seen, Mike. I've done we've had several promo reels where we got creamies together and did a little shoot. I cannot eat them fast enough. It's it is humiliating.
It is sad.
Every time.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to do it again.
So, Andy, if I was going to do a creamy, I get the chocolate vanilla swirled together.
That's
Okay.
okay. That's mine.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, I know. I thought about getting a dish next time. Again, the ridicule factor is high. Andy and I tend to rib each other pretty hard, and I'm not sure what I'm up for on
Yeah.
any given day.
I can't make any
Can't eat a
promises.
dish when you're driving your car, though.
So where can people go to follow along with this this fight or not fight with Amazon, and if they want to get involved?
The resistance
It's a
movement.
communal education effort.
Thank you. That.
To get involved in our communal education effort regarding Amazon, you will go to on Instagram at Phoenix Rising VT to check out the actions that we're taking. You will visit any one of our 3 stores in Burlington, Essex in particular, and Rutland.
Excellent.
Well, Mike and Katie DeSanto, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
us.
Thank you. It was super fun.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode.
Thank you all for listening.
Follow us between episodes for the latest updates on our socials at There's No A in Creamy on Instagram, Substack, and Blue Sky.
And catch us on our next episode of There's No A in Creamy, Vermont Politics, Culture, and Beyond in Apple Podcasts and Spotify.